Growing up, I was always a college fan. I never watched professional sports of any kind. I still don't like watching them, so college was always the thing that I preferred to watch. And my favorite two teams have Alabama and Florida.
Tell us about who recruited you.
Pretty much every school in the Southeastern Conference, the ACC, and the Big East. It was a lot of people came after me. It was a hard decision to make. During the whole recruiting process, I committed early to Alabama, and pretty much everybody backed off except for Florida. And they kept calling and kept coming up here. I think all the way up until like the deadline of them being able to contact players. I mean, they tried and they tried, and they kept on pushing, trying to get me to break my commitment to Alabama and come to Florida. They made it real hard on me.
Did you hear the Alabama practice, and what distracted y'all at practice over there?
No, we couldn't quite hear the practices, but we could always hear the band and the smell of the bread baking across the street at the bakery.
Talk about the tradition in Alabama. You know, the fans like to talk about the national championship, the SEC championship, but do the players feel the responsibility of that history?
It's always a heavy burden going into every season because of the fans and former players. Because everybody, when they see, it's like, okay, you know, we gotta have this year, gotta have a winning team. You know, it's been so long since we won a championship. We gotta have another one. You know, everybody expects you to be able to go out and compete and possibly win it, either SEC or national championship every year playing here. So you gotta live up to the expectations. Dubose, he was a great coach. I love playing for him, and I just wish things had went a little bit different than the way they went. But you can't control what happens. You just got to take what comes and deal with it. But he was a good coach.
During your time here, who was the practical joker or something went awry? Who'd you turn to first? Who would you expect would be behind it?
Usually it was me. Actually, to tell you the truth, usually it was me.
So give us an example of what you would do.
An example. Okay, we all lived out in the Highlands together, and one time we all went fishing, and something happened to where Mariko Portis and Dante Ellington, they were roommates. They did something, and so I took a dead fish and stuck it in a vent outside of their apartment. It stayed in there for about a month. They cleaned that apartment every day for a month. They could never figure out where the smell was coming from until Theo Sanders told them that I put a fish in the vent, and they got it out.
Tell us about playing middle linebacker. What responsibilities come with having that position on the field?
First and foremost is to lead the defense. Make sure everybody up front is doing what they're supposed to do and keep the secondary in check. And stop all runs at all costs. That was the most important thing. You always had to be on the run. I mean, pass coverage, yeah, you had to do that, but that was, you know, second on my list of things to do. You know, like I say, first and foremost, it was stopping the run and making sure me and my teammates were always on the same page and everybody had one common goal to win.
Did you have any kind of superstitions or rituals that you like to follow, or are you more relaxed than some other people?
Me, my big thing was I didn't like eating on the days of games. I would usually eat something light in the morning, like some eggs or something. So every night before a game, I would eat like a whole lot of pizza, like 2 or 3 cheeseburgers, a lot of ice cream. I would eat so much on a Friday night, and then I'd just get up on Saturday, get my bowl of eggs, and I'd be good to go. No matter how prepared I ever was, it seemed like I always got nervous until that first play. And once that first play was done, okay, it was time to go.
Was preparation any different for a team like that than usual?
It wasn't much different. I mean, it was pretty much the same. Respect the pass, but we also knew they were going to run the ball. So our DBs had to play the best game that they could play that year in order for them to beat them. And that's what they did. They gave us a chance. That's all we asked for. Give us a chance to win it in the end, and they gave us a chance. Field goal block. I have 2 blocks to my credit.
Did you like doing that? Did you like the special teams play?
I love blocking field goals. I never felt like we really took control. I always felt like we were right there with the chance to win it, putting ourselves in a position to win it in the final seconds. And playing the team we were playing, we knew we couldn't count them out. So we had to stay focused and realize, you know, one mistake and this could jump from being a 1-point game to a 14-point game with us being down. So every time they strike, we'd have to strike back, and that was the way it worked out. We kept striking every time they strike, and it went down to overtime, and it worked our way. One penalty and one missed kick and one made kick, and game's over. Actually, I'm close with a lot of guys. I can say on a weekly basis, I talk to a lot of them. Freddie Millens, Terry Jones, Ahmad Galloway, Shantu Ray. I talk to all those guys on a regular basis. It was one of those attitudes where we knew something had to happen, you know. We got to make it happen. If we don't make it happen now, it's not going to happen. So it was like everybody just had to grow up, be a man real quick, take responsibility, do their jobs, and it all worked out for us. Everything turned out the way it turned out, and I'm just happy that we won that game down there because there aren't many people who can say that they won in the swamp. And breaking that winning streak, I can say that was one of the highlights of me playing football at Alabama. It was a lot of emotion. It was like we scored, we tied it up, you know. They had just missed their field goal. If we make ours, you know, we win it, game's over. He kicks it, and it goes wide. I think everybody out there heart dropped. You know, we were all like, oh, no, not another overtime period. And then we look over and we see the flag on the ground. We didn't know exactly what it was going to be. And then it was an offsides penalty, and we come back, get another chance to kick it. And it was like that next kick, it almost went wide again. It barely got in, but it got in. And man, that was one of the greatest wins ever.
Did you talk to Spurrier after the game?
Nah, I didn't get a chance to talk to him. I think he ran off the field real quickly. After games, who would I usually talk? I usually would talk to Kenny Smith, because he was always a good friend, you know what I mean? So I always would talk to Kenny, and I always would talk to Freddie and Shantu and Darius, all those guys. You know, we'd always get together and talk because usually our lockers were usually somewhere close, and we always usually sat by each other on the plane. So we were always good friends, and just like, hey, man, we pulled it out, you know? And then we talk about who did what and how, you know, it's going to look good on film